All right, this is the special meeting of the Mayor and Council for Monday, July 23rd, 2012. The time is approximately 6:45 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by sending notices in December to the Record and the Ridgewood News by positioning a notice on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Borough Hall and by filing a notice of the same with the municipal clerk. We'd like to remind everyone that the meeting is being recorded, both voice and by video. There are two exits in council chambers, one at the front and one at the back. If I could have a roll call, Denise.
Councilman Murphy?
Here.
Councilman Ford?
Here.
Councilman Cola?
Here.
Councilman McMillan?
Here.
Councilman Bartoloni?
Here.
Councilman Papaleo?
Here.
And Mayor Scaratola?
Here. All right, the only resolution that's on the consent agenda is Resolution 12-254, which is to approve the settlement of payment upon the retirement for Sergeant William Haggis. This is based upon settlement of litigation. We were all briefed in closed session at a previous meeting from our litigation counsel, and we voted to enter into the settlement. Is there any further discussion? Somebody like to make a motion?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? All right, thank you. I'll have a motion to open the special meeting to the public.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed, any abstained? The only person in the audience is a member of the press. The member of the press have any questions? Okay. I'd like to have a motion to close the hearing to the public.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? All right. And can I have a motion to adjourn the special session of this meeting?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. We've got about 10 minutes for a moment of silent reflection or prayer. And if I could have Councilman Courts lead us in a salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and attend any meetings of public bodies in which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with this law, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of River Edge have caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place posted in the Borough Hall, and notices were sent to the Record and the Ridgewood News. The mission of this governing body is to provide essential services through the establishment and implementation of public policy to safeguard our infrastructure, provide honest, courteous, and professional services, establishing a sense of trust and accomplishment with our residents. We do this by research and prudent planning to minimize risks while improving municipal services. In doing so, we are sensitive to the needs of our taxpayers while realizing that this governing body cannot be all things to all people within revenue constraints imposed by state mandates, economic conditions, and prevailing attitudes about taxation. We are being recorded both by sound and video. If a member of the public wishes to speak and they want to be seen, they can come forward and address the governing body at the small desk up here by the microphone. There are two exits in the hearing room, one at the back and one to my right. Can we have a roll call, Denise?
Councilwoman Murphy?
Here.
Councilman Ford?
Here.
Councilman Cola?
Here.
Councilman McMillan?
Here.
Councilman Bartoloni?
Here.
Councilman Papaleo.
Here.
And Mayor Mascarotola.
Here. We have 3 items on the agenda for the Borough Administrator's topics. The first item on the agenda is for construction of a fence on a drainage easement. Alan, can you tell us about that?
Thank you, Mayor. Provided the mayor and council with a memorandum indicating that a resident at 9 June Court has a request to replace a 6-foot stockade fence at the rear of his property. It would replace a fence in this exact location right now. He'd like to put it on the southernmost part of a 10-foot wide drainage easement. I provided you with a site plan. Mark Skurbitz has looked it over and has indicated that the fence would be okay as long as the mayor and council approve it being located on the drainage easement. We've had a history of requests for fences, decks, retaining walls, even swimming pools on borough property, various drainage easements, park property. In some cases it's been granted, in some cases it's been denied. Where it has been granted, most recently, we've entered into license agreements with those individuals to ensure that we are protected in terms of liability, that we have an absolute right to take the fence down if need be. In this instance, while this resident has come forward to ask this permission, my personal observation at the location was that there are other fences and vegetation and things from other neighbors on the drainage easement currently. Are there any questions from the council on this? If the council grants it, I would recommend that the borough attorney draw up a license agreement so that we would have the absolute right to go in and do whatever we had to do with the drainage easement.
Right. Anybody like to discuss this? Any discussion? No discussion? Alan, what are you looking for?
A motion to approve it, upon entering into a license agreement with the resident, permit them to place the fence on the drainage easement.
Is there a fence there now in that
Yes,
location?
there is an old fence there now that he'd like to take down and put a new fence up.
Is the old fence 6-foot stockade fence?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second? Any further discussion? Can we get a roll call, Denise?
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Court?
Yes.
Councilman Coppola?
Yes.
Councilman Mignone?
Yes.
Councilman Bartoloni?
Yes.
Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I guess Sam could draw up the license agreement.
Yes, I'll provide him with the information.
Just, Mayor, one question.
Go ahead.
Mr. Skurbitz will make sure that the fence is put back in the same location,
I'll make that note.
so they don't wind up putting post holes through our stormwater.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, Alan, the second item is to update us on the bus shelters, which are sorely in need of replacement.
Thank you, Mayor. We've received from New Jersey Transit maintenance agreements which have been submitted to the borough attorney for review. In addition, they've indicated they'd like to see the mayor and council select a style of the bus shelters, and a resolution would be passed indicating that. John Lynch and I looked at the various styles that were presented to us today, and it's our consensus recommendation that the IKEA bus shelter most closely conforms to the bus shelters on the southern part of Kinderkamack Road, as well as the two on the Route 4. It's not an exact match, but they are black in color, the same style, and it would be close enough. John, if you have anything to add in terms of that recommendation, I think that's what we would be looking for tonight, is your approval on that style. We sent you a copy of this with the various styles, as well as the maintenance agreements.
When did you send this? Did everybody see the various styles? Because
No.
first time I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I didn't see
And I thought we had gotten that out to you.
I had them.
Oh, you had them all?
I told Alan, the file was given to me, I don't know why. But I had
You
the
could
file.
wait till August 6th if you'd like the opportunity to
So that's
look
why no one
over
had
the
it.
options again, Mayor.
If you could just send around
do
to
that.
the council the sheet that shows, what are there, 5 different styles?
Yeah, there's 5 styles, right.
So that we can pick one.
Okay, not a
Can we
problem.
look at it now, and then we can make a decision? Just pass it around?
Oh, it's a color, there's a color.
It's really not it's a black and white
No,
copy.
there's a color, it's got a color.
Color I just gave to you.
You got the color, there's a color,
Yeah, the folder with the maintenance agreements in it.
Oh, that's in the other room.
I know.
there's a color photograph of all the shelters.
Do you want me to get it?
Do you want to see
Do
it?
you want to wait till-
Yeah, I think we can
Just
do it
wait.
right now.
Yeah.
How many maintenance
just wait till
agreements are
August.
there?
Yeah, well,
Just I'd like to review the maintenance agreements also.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm more interested in that than the style.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that, then we'd like to distribute that to you also,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Okay, we'll get the maintenance agreements and the styles to you. Just
Put it on the agenda for August 6th.
We'll put it on for August 6th.
I was just going to mention, because I mentioned to Alan, there is a restriction against advertising on the bus shelter, but I thought Alan should discuss it, and maybe it'd be worth discussing with the mayor and council, the idea of having like a maintenance placard on there if you want to get sponsors to help defray the cost of maintaining them on an annual basis. And you would have like, a name of a restaurant or anyone who sponsors it, sponsoring that shelter in terms of maintaining, just like a highway type sponsorship, and maybe help defer the cost of maintaining them and cleaning them. But I think you need permission from New Jersey Transit.
Right now, some of the bus shelters have very nice flower plantings around them. Is that by the beautification committee?
I'm not familiar with that, Mayor. Perhaps John Lynch knows a little bit about that. Flower plantings around the bus shelters, have you observed anything like that?
Yeah, right across from the CVS, there's a bus shelter, and there's beautiful flowers growing all around it. It's in a nice bed.
The resident must have.
Yeah. I think that's the resident.
Yeah?
I think so.
Very nice. Yes.
Mayor, this is somewhat unrelated. I don't know if John Lynch can answer this, but the sidewalk on Kinnecamack going towards the CVS shelter, there's a lot of branches and greenery that's kind of taken half the sidewalk. Whose responsibility is it to maintain that sidewalk as an open pathway? Is that the homeowner? Is that us? Is that the county, since it's a county road?
Well, it's a county/homeowner, depending on where it is.
Mhm.
The borough has an agreement to handle Monroe Clarity on Kinnecamack, Monroe Clarity. That was an agreement that was made that, we still have the grass there, tree trees. So that would be, depending on where you measure it, county/homeowners.
Is that something the code enforcer should look at? Because half the sidewalk is covered by...
It's a good place to start. And I could contact the county. They don't do any trimming anymore because of budget cuts.
Yeah.
Which is the reason.
Yeah, because the ivy is halfway there, and then the over branches as people walk towards that shelter, the one across from the CVS.
But we'll contact the county though.
All right.
I mean, get to know we won't trim it.
All right, the final item on Alan's agenda is the ADA doors here at the Borough Hall in the Public Safety Building.
Thank you, Mayor. We reported to the Mayor and Council that we went out to bid again on the Community Development Block Grant funded doors for Borough Hall in the Public Safety Building. We had 9 vendors pick up the packets, but unfortunately none actually bid on the project itself. There are several thoughts on this. The Borough Attorney, at my request, has issued a legal opinion to the Mayor and Council because I was curious as to whether a negotiation might be a possibility at this point in time. Sam, if you want to discuss the legal opinion briefly?
Yeah, definitely. In this particular case, it does fall within an exception under the statute where you do have bids or don't have bids in this case here. However, if you modify or change the specification, and it's considered a substantial change in specification, then you cannot negotiate directly with the vendor. You really have to rebid it, because obviously if there are vendors, the mindset is that if everyone knows the position of the vendors who are competing, and then it's also disclosed, then it makes it much easier for one vendor maybe then to position himself to negotiate directly with the borough in terms of what the other vendor's position was as disclosed. So the idea here is you would have to stay with the same specs. My opinion was that if the problem is that the bids have come in too high, I think the first bid came in very high, and that's why you went into the second bid.
Yeah, no bids.
No bids.
First time around.
It may be easy. The other thing I had suggested several avenues. One would be to change the spec, in which case you would have to rebid it. My thinking was to split the bid, in other words, between masonry, electrical, and mechanical. In other words, the doors and the mechanical could be a separate bid, the masonry could be a separate bid, and the electrical could be a separate bid. And in that way, you may generate more interest in the bidding process and get bids to handle each item. The other item, which we had discussed briefly just before the meeting, was to see if it falls within the threshold, the statutory threshold in which the purchasing agent, in this case Alan, would be able to negotiate that separate item as falling under the threshold. So that I thought the threshold was 25,000. You said it was 36.
36, yes.
36 now.
Yeah, we could go out for quotations.
So if, let's say, the masonry can be done for less than 36, then you'd be able to do this without putting it out to a public bid, and then negotiate each item as a separate component. And that way, you may be able to put it together. You may want, since it was a community block grant, you may just want to get permission to see if there's any objection to handling the bid process that way. Since there were no bids submitted, I don't think you're going to find too many objectors here. And it may be easier to do direct negotiations on the three elements. You'd have that choice. Either you want to engage somebody and contract it separately, or if you want to put it out the bid as a separate bid.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like the opportunity to see if we can do this through quotations, and I would, as per the Borough Attorney's recommendation, contact Community Development Block Grant. If they're okay with that, we can try that first. That certainly will be quicker and less expensive than going out to bid again.
Any further discussion? Sounds like a good idea. It might expedite the process if you get permission to just get quotes and do it more or less piecemeal, because we tried to go out. On the first time we bid this, we bid the entire project, right?
Correct.
Electric, masonry, and the mechanics. And we didn't get any bids back. So then the idea, and the feedback you got, if I recall, and you can correct me, is that the feedback you got from some of the vendors were that they didn't bid on it because it contained a mason component that they usually don't do.
Correct.
So the second time we went out to bids, we eliminated the mason component, and we still didn't get any responses. Okay. All right.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have to report on that item.
All right. Now for discussion, we have our engineer, our esteemed engineer, to speak to us about the Riverside Cooperative Road Resurfacing Program.
Thank you, Mayor. Steve, thank you.
Must be the tan.
I've been on Market Street in Saddlebrook. There's no trees out there. Back in March, I'm fortunate enough to be the engineer for the cooperative. We went out to bid in March of this year. The co-op, as I believe that most of the council knows, received bids twice on this project. The original bids were actually challenged by the second lowest bidder, Smith-Sunday. It actually went to court, and there was a judge's order, Judge Toscos, in June of this year, awarding the job to Smith-Sunday, the original bid. By doing so, D&L was the original low bid. He had a defect on the bid, and the judge basically said that his bid would be thrown out and the second would be awarded. With that, the tonnage prices were somewhat higher than the D&L bid, so Alan asked me to look at it to make sure that we had enough money in the budget in order to do Elm from Continental to Midland. Tonight I can report to you, based on everything I went over today, based on the stuff I went over with John Lynch, the director of the DPW, we do have enough money to pave from Continental to Midland, and we do have enough money to pave, to mill the entire roadway and pave it. For some reason, there was 11,000 yards in the original bid, and I'm not sure where that came from, because it's actually somewhere around 9,000 square yards. Even if you took into the intersections, if we went back, originally the way we used to do would be to mill and pave back by the stop bars and stop signs. We stopped doing that the past couple of years. So even with that put into it, it would add maybe another 1,000 square yards to the project. So without doing that, we certainly have enough money to pave the entire portion. And we might have enough money, Alan, to add at least 2 inlets on the Elm south of Continental to handle some of the drainage at the corner of Manning and Voorhees. If you want to issue a change order.
So the first bid was thrown out, and their prices were lower for the product. And the
Correct.
second bid came in, and theirs was higher. So when you calculate everything, would the first one been lower?
Well, with the first bid, they were in the, they were $72, if I'm not mistaken, a ton. Smith-Sundy is $80, I believe, and 13 cents. What I'd like to do is pass out some handouts.
Do you know why there's a discrepancy like that? Wouldn't they be getting it from the same source?
Well, contract, I mean, I've seen numbers right now. If you want to get work done, and I'm sure Ed Mignon has seen the same thing with some of the bids in Fort Lee. The numbers are all over the place, but usually the lowest bidder is extremely low, almost to a point where
Suspect.
you question the suspect whether or not they can actually do the project for what they're bidding right now. We just bid some water main. It came in extremely cheap. Again, challenged by another bidder to throw a bid around. Went to court, out of court. But it just seems like people are so hungry for work right now, the contractors, that they're bidding either at cost or below cost, and then trying to do change orders or...
Well, there was just something in the paper about that, where a company came in like hundreds of thousands less, and they're afraid that they are not going to be able to complete the job, and they're just going to walk off.
I heard something today that the subway in New York, the 2nd Avenue subway, that the contractor actually walked off the project. I haven't read it myself, but that's what I was told today, that they lost hundreds of millions of dollars and they're walking.
So is this a fair price, the second
This
one?
is fine. I spoke
Even with
to-
the higher cost?
I spoke to the contractor this afternoon. Holworth has already contracted them. They have the paperwork back. If the council says go ahead, he could probably be in town within 3 weeks to 4 weeks. And again, I'd like to just hand it, if I can.
Bob, is this all bonded? This was all bonded.
This is all bonded. But again, certainly you don't want to deal with a bonding company. And this is probably a two-day job, 1-day mill. It's about 1,000 ton of pavement, possibly 2 days at the most, but it's probably going to be maybe 2 to 3 days tops, start to finish. I've also made copies of the Department of Transportation index. I highlighted the issues that...
It's all right.
What this shows, because the contract is over 1,000 ton, it's subject to the asphalt price increase or decrease. What I handed out to the mayor and council just now is the actual index off the website with the DOT, and you can see that you go 1 month prior to the bid. In this case, it was March of 2012. So you go back to February, the asphalt price, $607.50. And if we actually did the work in July, the asphalt price went down, $602.50. So if it goes down, if we do pave in August, and this trend continues, it'll be a little bit less than what we actually bid. So the fuel price adjustment would go down, and the asphalt price would go
Do
down.
they then make an adjustment for the lower price? Do you get a,
We give it to them. Then normally we fight, scream, kick, and then they acquiesce and they give it to us. That's what we've done.
the second company, have you worked with them and heard of them, and are they
Yes.
good? I mean, anything you heard about them?
I'm trying to think, they've done work in town, I'm trying to think what streets they actually paved for us.
They have a satisfactory...
They might have done Howard Avenue, actually. It's called Howard.
So they're satisfactory?
They're fine. They just finished the project from the inside of the school.
Mayor, I don't believe there's a decision on the part of council unless you want to change the program at this stage. But tonight, I had expected Rob to tell us that there wasn't enough money to do what we had intended. And, you would have had to have made a decision in terms of how to do the street or how much of the street to do. But since there does appear to be enough...
For some reason, there's a discrepancy in what we put out. We put out close to 11,000 square yards. I don't know. I went through the whole file, and I can't figure out where that number came from.
So we can do the project, so this is a good report, I guess. Okay, thank you.
Is Mr. Costa going to speak on any other issue? The generator or...
No, I don't believe so. Ed's going to provide us with a report on the generator.
You got any update to give us on any good news or bad news, or...
The only good news I have, the revised plans went back for Howland Avenue to Rich Lovelace at the state. I should have an okay within a week or two for that project to go out to bid. So if the council wants to go forward, authorize us to go to bid, and we should be under construction sometime in September.
Anything on Voorhees Avenue drainage?
I have not checked with Marlene. Everything that was necessary we gave to her. I'm just waiting back.
Everything's been submitted?
Everything was submitted. And a letter went, from my understanding, a letter came from DOT to the borough. I haven't seen it though.
And just to clarify, under this elm paving, we can do those inlets at Voorhees and at Manning?
I think we can issue, I mean, again, I'd have to go have a ruling from the borough attorney, but I can't see why we couldn't issue a change order. It is on Elm. Obviously, it's not this section of Elm, but I'm not sure why we couldn't issue a change order to him to build 2 small inlets.
I mean, I could look at the issue. I don't see, I would like to look at the issue rather than just give you an opinion.
It either has to be addressed under this or under the Voorhees project. Either way,
Right.
we need to get it.
We've planned for it under the Voorhees at this point, but, we could take a look at the
We could do
issue.
it under here, and if it gets done possibly quick, and solve that problem.
And we have no issues with handicap ramps on Elm past Continental that we have to address.
That's a good question.
They should all be done.
They should be done. I guess the question becomes
Do they have to meet the federal standards?
standards. Now, this, very good question. There's no certification that would have to be done back to the county or the state.
This is not grant money. This is borough
not grant money. So, I would say, I believe we could resurface and go forward. There's no other work being done other than resurfacing. We're not doing curbs, we're not doing sidewalks. I can certainly look into it a little bit further, to make absolutely sure. But certainly, if we had to redo all of those ramps, then I don't think we have enough money to complete the project.
Okay, anything else? Did you do that memo on the pool issue?
I spoke to the homeowner. that afternoon. I said for him that he could certainly go forward if he has to backwash his filter, and he can certainly drain it into the seepage pit. And I followed up with a letter that he should have received today.
Can you just send us a copy?
Absolutely. You should have been copied, plus the mayor and council was copied, along with the chief and Mr. Negri.
Okay, great. Thanks for taking care of that.
No problem.
Anything on the, anything on the sewer subcommittee? Anything?
7:30 on Wednesday morning. So far, it's been Alan and myself once a month.
All right.
Well, we are meeting with Sam on an issue that pertains to sewer subcommittee on Wednesday. though.
How much time do you think I will need? I have a seminar.
10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Okay, so that works. I have to be out by 8.
Oh, yes.
I think the only thing we could probably report on, Tenny Avenue, has that been...
Tenny Avenue, I'm pleased to announce, I think it's all resolved.
Tenny
I've got a
Avenue-
contribution from
Okay.
people.
There was just, maybe the council doesn't even know, on Tenny Avenue, it's been an ongoing problem with a retaining wall that's been collapsing. It's on 3 different properties. I actually issued a notice of violation to Millbrook. I postponed the court hearing twice, and it looks as if a settlement has been reached, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I'm
And I think
scheduling a
everything will be
meeting.
resolved accordingly.
What about that big pipe that was coming out of the ground? Was that Adams? That was in the
On
West?
Elm?
the gas pipe?
Oh, yes, there was a
Yeah.
gas leak. I spoke to Bruce Brodsky. I think I sent a memo out to everybody in the council saying that I spoke to him, that a letter would be forthcoming. Apparently, it was just an email that he sent, but there was a gas leak that they fixed.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cosner.
Mayor, Councilman, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Stay out of the sun.
Should that change order you were suggesting for the...
Number 2, the public safety building generator.
Mayor, I believe we provided the mayor and council with the bid results for the acquisition and installation of the public safety building generator, and appurtenances there too. Councilman Mignon has spoken with our consultant on this, and I believe he has a recommendation.
I also spoke with Sam, and Sam can talk about, I asked whether he reviewed all the bids, whether they were compliant, and Sam can testify that they were. We've received the 4 bids, and if you recall, the way the engineer priced the project, we had a base bid for 1 large generator that would cover the public safety building and the borough hall. I believe it was 250 or 275 kilowatts. The estimate was about $190,000. As an alternate, he put in there just replacing the existing generator for the public safety building in case the larger generator was way out of budget again. The first time when we bid this, it was $300 and something thousand to do that. But basically, the low bid was Venor Electric, and to do the large generator, it's $188,509, which is $140,000 less than the original bid. So it was worthwhile to have Mr. Del Percio redesign it, so obviously we to get some value engineering accomplished. And Mr. Del Percio said that was consistent with his estimate. He saw no reason why, based on what the council wants to do, to go with that recommendation to do 1 generator for the whole building. And that's what I'd recommend as well.
Okay. Sounds good. We bonded more than that, right?
Mayor, if we have a motion on this, we'll put a resolution on the August 6th meeting to make the award.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Okay, we can have a formal resolution on.
Ed, can you give me the name again of that company?
Vanor, V-A-N-O-R-E Electric. They're from Teterboro. Second low bidder, if you want to know, I'll read them publicly, they're publicly bid already, but ACI Electric was the second low bidder at $205,300. Third low bidder was DN Electrical Engineering of Linden. They were $222,900. And Manor 2 Electric from Homedale was $242,171. And this is just for the larger option.
Are you familiar with this company, Vanor?
I've heard, I've never dealt directly with them, but I've seen the name around and I've seen them on other public bids.
All of them had pretty good work experiences on their submissions, so they all seem to have a fair amount of decent work record in terms of doing larger projects.
And they're bonding the project anyway, so we'll be covered. I think the issue with the timing will be getting public service to do the gas installation. But I assume once the contract goes to the contractor, there'll be a pre-construction meeting. I don't know if you're going to have John involved or Costa or... Well,
Okay, thank you. Next item is the ICS training, scheduled for September the 10th.
Mayor, if I may, we have September 10th. We've worked this out, I believe, with Ordell and New Milford.
No,
All right, take it, Denise.
didn't change. Possibly September 17th. What we were finding is that they meet, the two towns meet also, one town meets on Mondays also.
Right.
It's wait for Tom Smith to get back, basically, because he has to make sure that September 17th is okay for the training. So I apologize, but Milford clerk was out for the week, and I was out for the week, so basically we're looking at, we think September 17th if it goes well. But I'll keep you up to date on Tom.
So we're going to keep the agenda, is that going to be the only item on the agenda?
I
All right,
believe
we're going to
so.
keep the agenda very, very light unless there's
And they
something
think
else.
about 2-hour training.
2-hour training, right?
Yeah.
And that should be
It works good.
a work session, but they bring video and everything for us to watch, right? And they issue certificates, and we'll be able to get ID cards, and we'll be all trained in incident command.
I'm not sure about the date, though, I'm not positive.
Okay, I hope everybody can make that meeting for incident command training. All right, we have 5 items on the work session consent agenda. Does anybody wish to pull out any of the 5 items for any separate discussion? All right, good. Have a motion there? Yeah, can I have a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Good. Okay. Alan, let me ask you, was there any feedback on the cultural center and anything, I'll ask the chief, anything negative regarding this year's auto show? Any problems that we had?
I don't have any report on that from them here.
Okay. No, I mean, have you...
No, nothing was reported to me.
Okay, good, all right.
I don't know of any complaints that came in through the clerk's office, Mayor.
I attended the auto show, and it was well attended, and it was a hot day, but it seemed like they had plenty of help this year. Plenty of help. All right. Let's have the budget review for the DPW and the police department before we do the liaison reports. So, I want to get John to go first. Mr. Lynch, want to go first on your budget review? All right, John, you want to highlight anything for us?
I put a lot on paper because I know we're always short on time. Highlighted repair, maintenance, road patch. This year we put down almost 86 tons of road patch as of today. Last year, for the whole year, we put down almost 73 tons. So we're above, and we still have 5 months left.
John, on the road patch issue, do we do that manually by hand? Do we take advantage of, the county has a road patch machine that is available if we need it? Do you think that would be a good idea, a bad idea? Do you have any experience with it? When I met with the county executive, she offered it to us. She said that we would only have to pay for the material.
We went twice for training for that machine, and if you got a particular patch you want to do, maybe the size of this table, you heat it up and then rake it in, put some new patch, and then roll it. The process takes about 2 to 3 hours, depending on the temperature and whether it's a lot of sunlight that day or cloudy. So we have not used it, just due to the length of time that it takes.
I mean, using this piece of equipment takes longer than doing it manually?
Yeah.
And why is that? I thought it's supposed to shorten the process.
It makes a very nice patch. I mean, we fill potholes. That's what this is.
What is this equipment? Do you just, I mean, I heard it's an expensive piece of machinery. It's like $200,000.
Yeah, it's very expensive.
The Riverside Cooperative jointly took over the machine provided by the county. It's called an infrared machine. So what it does is, as John describes it, it heats up and dissolves the macadam, so that when the patch comes back, it's a seamless patch that goes into the roadway. But it does take a long time for it to heat up, dissolve the macadam that's there back to its natural state, so that you can get this seamless approach. It's very good if you want to do something where you're not intending to come back and do it, a very busy roadway or something where you've just paved the entire road and you had to break it up and now you want to put a seamless patch down. So it is available to us, and if we have the opportunity to use it, I'm sure we will. But I guess the other technique is faster.
Okay. John, on your account 9202 for 178 for salt, seems like we didn't use hardly any salt this year, right?
We have a balance of almost 31,000.
Now, does that mean that we have tons of salt laying around still?
We have one bin that's full, approximately 400 tons, and usually October, November, most likely October, I'll fill up the other 2 bins, which will be another 400 tons.
Do we usually start the winter with 800 ton?
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Each storm is generally about 125 ton or so.
Okay. Any other accounts you want to draw our attention to?
Just the road patch, like I said, so the budget 2013, that will have to be addressed. Buildings and grounds, it will have to be addressed for 2013 budget. The adding of the park buildings to the public works as far as maintaining and cleaning.
Right.
Under vehicles, we have one bus now, the other bus is up for auction. It's working fine. I don't know if the committee's ever looked into as far as getting a second bus or eliminating even this bus, or if that committee has even met. 2013, we'll have to look into increased funds for the fire chief's cars. again, we are over on that budget line. Those cars are getting older. I got a 2001, 2006, and 2007. In years past, there was only one fire chief's car, and the assistant and the deputy fire chief would use their personal car. This changed in around 2005, 2006, and then these two additional cars were purchased. Again, adding more maintenance and tires, et cetera. Also, the fire trucks, all the PMs have been complete this year.
John, just a question on that. If there's a major repair, though, your budget will have to stand that repair, is that correct?
So, under the fire truck or chief's car?
The fire trucks.
Yeah, the fire trucks, as I was about to say, the PMs have all been done this year, but the repairs are very costly. I got a call on Thursday into Friday as far as the rescue not starting, and what they did is, because I had one mechanic out on injury and one out on vacation, the fire chiefs thought that it was an emergency, and they brought down Russ Connor, a private person, and changed the batteries and so forth. So, again, it's going to be $175 an hour. So it's very costly, the outside maintenance for the fire trucks. The fuel, if you look what I put on there as far as the fuel, the average cost and so forth for gasoline, it appears we're going to be in a negative approximately $10,000. As far as diesel, it looks like we're going to have a balance of a positive of approximately 4,000 plus. Again, this all changes beginning of the storm, temperatures, leaf season, if it's prolonged. There's a lot of variables.
Did you get your fuel management system?
I have 2 quotes. I'm
Right.
waiting for the 3rd quote. It's been slow trying to get quotes, get people in there.
What did the 2 quotes come out to? Do you have a recollection? We're not gonna hold you to the exact number, but ballpark?
Yeah, there was one underneath what was allotted, and the second one was above it.
Remember how much was allotted for the fuel management system?
It's like 13,000 and change.
13?
Somewhere.
No, that's okay, I don't wanna...
I think it was 13,000.
All right, okay. All right, so, and you're waiting for one more quote,
One more
right?
quote.
Okay. Go ahead.
As far as the trees, we're doing good on the budget, but we're doing very low on the numbers as far as trims and removals, just due to the fact that I have one tree trimmer, and due to the manpower issues. What happens is I wind up using my tree trimmers and other title people to do labor tasks. So those numbers have been low.
What are we doing with, I bring this up quite often about stump removal. We have so many stumps in town, and, they actually become a tripping hazard. Have we ground any stumps? Do we have a contract to grind any stumps? Are we going out to bid?
In this paper that Alan just gave us, there's $5,000 that's put away for stump removal.
I know, but are we starting it, or...
See, Mayor, if I may, it's usually in the Shade Tree Commission's hands to go out for quotes. You've provided them with, as the councilwoman has suggested, $5,000. So they usually do put out a program. We can send a note out to Liz to see
We have
where
our
they are.
Maybe our liaison can bring it up at the next meeting.
That would be fine.
Our stormwater budget, as of today, we've completed that budget. We received $7,200. The only remaining money in that is for the meter inspections for the grants, meters for the sewers. We have $33,000 for that. To date, we cleaned every storm basin in town and repaired 47 basins.
Wow, that's great.
When it says here over 200 basins in need of repair, how much does it cost to repair a basin normally?
Well, again, it depends. Is it just the floor? Is it just the top course? Is it full rebuild? Is it frame? You know, there's so many variables.
And it says not cleaned out the pit at pump. What does that usually cost?
Well, I recommended for $2,000 in the budget. What we've done is, since the new pump station has been put in, there's a pit in there, and we've always sucked out what does not go through the pump and does not go through the system. It's solid, that seat at the bottom. We've sucked that out in the past, and that money was removed in the budget. So that was not performed this year.
Also, the meter inspection says parameters, it's in the negative. Can you just explain that? It's negative 5,810.
That was,
No, I think that's just a hyphen. That's the amount budgeted, if I may.
Oh.
Meter inspections parameters. Budget, original budget is $5,810.
yeah, that was the budgeted number.
Okay. And as far as parking lots, what lots are covered that you have to, is it just the commuter lots?
We have 14 parking lots to maintain.
14?
We have the American Legion, the library, DPW lot, River Edge Upper Road lot, River Edge Road, Upper Road lot, River Edge Road Lower lot, Kinderkamak and Grove Street, Grove Street, which is considered a parking area, Public Safety Building, the Police Department behind here, that's the Public Safety Building, Police Department's back here, the Borough Hall, which is across the street, Company 1, Company 2, Hackensack and Grand, and the Swindle.
Thank you.
What else, John?
And that line number has not changed since 2006. Our sweeping is down, again, due to manpower and not having a third operator. As of July 2011, we swept 1,800 miles, 1,802 miles, and as of July of this year, we swept 813 miles. So you figured at least 1,000 miles less swept. Last year, I was alternating foremans, sweeping every other week. It broke down the chain of command, it broke down communication between the foreman and the men, and it did not work. So we're sweeping twice a week now. Borough HVAC is moving along, thanks to Ed and all of his hard work. The American Legion, we took a step forward. I'm not sure if Alan, you provided information on...
The information went out today on the Phase 1. I've scheduled it for August 6th for a discussion with the mayor and council.
The
The tree truck was under bid. We originally bid $250,000. It came in at $239,000. As I said, the fuel management system, we're waiting for one more bid. Other than that, you have a copy of the utilities, the gas, water, and electric. It appears that we're doing pretty good in those aspects as of now.
Anything with the roof of DPW? Is there anything that we can do to move that along, since the money's put aside for the library and
We
DPW?
can bring it back as a work session agenda item. You know, we could try and schedule it in September probably.
We put plastic tarps underneath with hoses to catch the water that leaks.
We'll bring it back to, so we all catch up as to where we are with the roof projects. All right, any questions for Mr. Lynch? Going around the table?
John, I have a question, unless somebody says.
Yeah, just one. Alan, is that discussion on August 6th regarding the American Legion, is that, we're going to have a report from the Phase 1, or is that just to talk about the Phase 1?
No, the report came in.
Oh, it did?
There's some questions that came up in the report that I'll need some direction on.
Okay.
I read the report today.
We're not having a discussion about it right now.
Sorry. 329 pages.
You got it.
Don't talk about the report because the report has some problems. It's a preliminary report. It's going to be either confirmed or amended or modified, and we'll get a new report.
All right.
Might be the same as the report that we have, but while Mr. Lynch is here, I want Mr. Lynch to go on the record. John, you told me that we had electric service to the building, right?
That's correct.
And you told me that the sump pumps are currently operating.
Yes.
The main breaker is on, but the separate circuit breakers to lights and things like that are in the off position, right?
That's correct.
Is that your understanding?
Except for the sub pump, that's correct.
Okay. All right, good.
Can
That's what I thought.
A question. This is to do with the parking lot of the swim club. There was a request put in for striping. I don't know when we can bring that up.
It was going to be done in the off-season, I believe.
There wasn't a timeline given.
I received a memo as far as to look into the cost of it, which I again then provided the costs and a memo, I believe, to Alan with those figures.
There was no decision on the council. We brought it to the council several times. There was no decision by the council. That had to be done in the off-season, was the recommendation. Not to do it now during the busy season with the swim clubs. I have no direction on that.
How, for the paint to dry, does it take a long time for paint to dry?
Again, it depends on the temperature of the day, whether it's cloudy, whether it's sunny.
Because they already have the sign ready to be installed, so I don't know how difficult that would be. They just asked me the other day to mention it.
John, now that we've awarded the bid for the tree truck, any idea how long it's going to take them to
I would
actually...
say at least 15 months.
How much?
I would say at least 15 months.
15 months?
That's what he said last time.
He told us 15 to 18 last
He
time.
said 18 months when he first came to talk to us.
All right, so we're going to have to use the existing tree truck for 2013, too.
That's correct.
All right.
There was,
Okay.
when the finance committee talked about the second, there was one of the things we talked about that it has a, even once you get the bid, it's 18 months so you got to figure not just can we put it in this year's budget, but can we afford not to have it over either a year and a half or 2.5, depending on what year's budget. I remember that conversation.
Well, even like the budget for the street paver, we talk about this in November, here we are at the end of July, a lot changes. So it's really hard to come up with a really accurate number, 9 months ago. All you can do is estimate.
You have your summer help all on board?
I have 2 civilians.
Okay, good. All right, anything else for John?
I have one question on this, I don't know if it says anybody. On the tree removal, so I guess these are all trees that are on public property, John? You had 64 trees, I think, removed.
they're within the curb line.
Curb line?
Curb line is,
Has this number increased over last year, or is it about the same?
no, it's drastically decreased over the years.
Decreased. What do you attribute that to?
Only have one tree trimmer. In years past, we had two.
While we have you up here, Alan, I saw in correspondence, we have a report now on, from the environmental company on the Cherry Blossom Park.
Yes.
And,
If I may, on August 6th, the council will approve payment to the Treasurer of State of New Jersey, $900 to file the report.
Okay.
So I'm waiting for the check to be approved. We'll file the report with the State of New Jersey and with Green Acres, and we'll go from there.
all right, so that means that soon you'll be able to pick up that macadam, and we have to figure out some type of fencing or boundary or curbing or something along the property line.
Yeah, I would recommend putting a curb in.
Yeah. Okay. Let us know when you get some slow days.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
All right, now we have Chief Caridi, the police department budget.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Passed out a packet a little earlier. On the front page is the police department's operating budget in line item format with the amounts allocated for each line, what was expended, and the remaining balance. Behind that is the most recent completed monthly budget that reflects overtime outside of operating expense. If you'd like to take a moment to review it, if there's any specific questions I can answer, I'll be happy to do so.
Just had a question regarding the overtime. Seems that the newest hires are making the least amount of overtime.
Per hour?
No, just the year total. It looks like Patrolman Roman, he has the least amount of hours offered or taken or worked. Page 6.
Chief, they just completed their training a couple months ago.
Correct. I mean, they weren't eligible to even be working overtime until the end of March. So that only reflects April, May, and, I'm sorry, February, March, and April. So this is really only about a little over a month reflected overtime availability. Their first 12 weeks from February 6th was in field training, and they weren't eligible for any overtime until that was completed.
Because it looks like Officer Sanchez was able to, you know, she's got numbers in line with everyone else, 54 hours, where his is at 18. And they were hired the same day.
Well, like, what's the point?
I'm just wondering, like, is he turning it down? Like, that part of the whole thing was overtime, was to kind of have lower paid people.
First of all, okay, that's 65 hours, and he has 26, which translates to, that's really only approximately a little over 2 shifts. It also could be traffic details, which could be a composite of that. It could be 4 traffic days, it could be 2 full days and part of a traffic day. I don't have the specific breakdown, but they're not, a lot of this overtime that comes up is offered and not mandatory. There are some officers that don't work overtime, and there are some that take every moment that's offered and available to them. They certainly haven't been denied any, and they've all been offered equal opportunity as it presents itself. But on a given, they are working 2 different tours as well. So on a given tour, depending on, say, a tour that's opposite their normal rotation, at present we have 1 tour that's running short due to an injury. Someone working opposite that tour right now may have a greater opportunity for overtime because of that.
Thank you.
The way that lines up.
Chief, the overtime report, I'm not being a stickler, but the overtime report begins with Abate and ends with Zemides. So you'd think that it was in alphabetical order.
Yeah, that's why I had a lot of trouble finding Sanchez.
But it's not in alphabetical order. Could you just explain, is it badge number? I'm just trying to figure out.
No, it's supposed to be alphabetical order, and the only thing myself...
It's all over the ballpark.
I was just looking at this when Councilwoman Murphy mentioned Sanchez, and I found Roman right away, and I couldn't find Officer Sanchez.
I thought she wasn't listed at first.
It's a little out of order. It goes A, B, C, D, S.
Yeah. I'm going to speculate here that when the name was inserted into the spreadsheet, they jumbled it and put it out of order. I'll see that that's addressed.
Any question
I think
about...
that's the only, yeah, that's what's out of order. That and Roman. So those 2 obviously were inserted in there and must have skewed the spreadsheets. I'll have that fixed.
Just had a question. What is U.S. Photo, number 181?
That's a line that we have for photography equipment. Things would come out of that, such as memory cards, it could be photograph repairs, it could be repairs to digital cameras, it could be acquiring new equipment.
Anything in particular you want to point out to us, Chief?
An overtime itself, on the topic, this reflects at the end of last month, it's not inclusive of July, and we're at just about $77,000 in overtime. There's a monthly breakdown on page 6, far right column, that doesn't count outside traffic contractors, detail for which there's reimbursement, but just either patrol-related overtime, investigations, patrol shortages, etc., departmental shortages, and you can see the breakdowns that we have per month. Well, June was actually both April and June were 2 very high months in excess of 15,000. June being at nearly 16 and April being just over 16. I'm anticipating July to be in that same ballpark. Because of officer illness and that's been long-term and replacements that have had to be made. So and then we're coming up on vacation times again in August. So the next 2 months are going to be rough. And then we're encountering a retirement August 1, which will put us down 2 officers until one at least is back in light duty capacity, and then other officers are replaced. We are underway with that process at present in the recruiting phase, and it's moving along, and
hopefully within a couple of weeks, we'll be in a background phase where we'll be ready to begin presenting candidates for consideration.
Chief, how's the applicant pool been?
Later than I expected, in as much as we still have another week or so that was running from the initial ad, but I think it only appeared in the paper for, was it just a 3-day period that first week? Denise?
No, I believe it's like for 2 weeks straight.
That's what I thought, but I hadn't been following the paper each day, but I know it was on NJ.com, but I'd heard from different people that it was periodically in the record and not. So I'd like to check on whether that status was regular, and we may have to just double check on whether the ad's getting as much exposure as it should have. That's something I want to look into. In terms of capital allocation, we've either been completely encumbered at this point or largely spent down depending on the line. And for the operating expense, we're just over halfway through the year, and we have a little more than 2/3 of the operating budget expended. I'm not anticipating any large problem with that. Some of these items obviously are on track to be spent down faster than others. Some items that haven't been touched yet just because of the time of year. So I feel comfortable with the allocation of the funds that remain for the rest of the fiscal year.
Speaking of capital, Chief, what's your anticipation in terms of car replacement going into next year?
Well, we're on track for 2 vehicles for next year. And this year we're facing a potential change in vehicle type. The Crown Victorias that were the staple of our fleet are no longer being produced. Ford has replaced it with a police interceptor model designed specifically for police use. Chevy has a similar police-specific vehicle in a Caprice package. I had an opportunity to view both of these at a police expo in Atlantic City a few weeks back. Both vehicles have a lot to offer. And one of the things I was also looking at is in terms of the equipment that we presently have, what would be interchangeable so that we wouldn't have to start from scratch with re-outfitting vehicles. And I was able to find that a lot of the equipment, cages and weapon mounts and console systems do have some interchangeability from the Crown Vic to the new available vehicle, so that may save us some costs. But we're looking at potentially 2 vehicles, then the issue will come up again as far as whether there will be money available into next year for lease or outright purchase.
Anything else for the chief?
Nope.
All right, thank you, chief.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Good night.
Good night.
And we have discussion on a proposed towing ordinance. So that's you, Sam?
Yeah, we have drafted an ordinance revising our towing and storage fees. This is as a product of many of our vendors who have contacted us about the fees were not compatible with other municipalities. What I did is, in conjunction with Lieutenant Curran, we reviewed probably about at least a half a dozen ordinances, and our basic charges appeared to be less than what I would consider the prevailing rates. In researching this, I thought maybe these rates are promulgated either by state law or regulation, but they're not. And what we did is that we basically took the rates that are being charged in the local area and upgraded the rates. We've had 2 meetings with at least 3 vendors who appeared. We contacted all of them, invited them to the Borough Hall to go over the rates and so forth. So that basically what we what we have provided the mayor and council on the towing and storage fees at those rates, which I consider to be very comparable to other municipalities. And they've all been reviewed with those vendors who chose to appear at Borough Hall. There have been at least 3 vendors who appeared on both occasions.
Kathleen?
I don't recall ever discussing this or asking this ordinance to be looked at.
Came up last year.
Someone asked me to look at it.
No, I believe we
What was
had
the issue last year?
towers present in the audience.
Yeah.
We did.
Who made complaints
Maybe
about our
before she-
ordinance. Yeah, possibly before you were on the council.
How many cars are normally towed?
We didn't go into statistics. Essentially, the big issue was really the fee schedule. And that seems to be the bigger issue, that our fees seem to be less than, and essentially I confirmed all of that with other comparable ordinances throughout the metropolitan area. We've used Glen Rock, Ridgewood, Hackensack, Pagoda, 2 or 3 others.
We have contracts with those
Allendale.
towing companies?
There's a list. So we don't directly go into contract. They're on a list. It's non-discriminatory. I'm not sure how many people go on that list. I'm not sure what the process is, but there are about 6 people on our list in different municipalities.
Just never thought that we had a big towing, a lot of cars get towed here. Do we know a number?
I don't know if it's any higher than anywhere else. I'm not sure. I mean, I didn't know, as I said, I didn't go into the statistics of tows in any given year, etc.
What's the fee schedule we charge, and what are we looking to charge?
The fee schedule, it's all set forth in the ordinance. All of the...
I didn't get anything.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, you go.
Yeah, we got it last week.
Right, an email on it.
But it's comparable. I'm satisfied, and I think the vendors are also. The chief attended all the meetings, and so did Lieutenant Khan. So any discussions they had with reference to any other aspects of the towing fees and storage fees were discussed with the chief and Lieutenant Khan present here in Borough Hall.
Sam, my question is, did you make sure that the proposed ordinance that you're recommending doesn't conflict with predatory towing statute?
Yeah, there is a predatory towing statute. The predatory towing statute doesn't set forth specific regulated charges. I looked into this because what I found to be unusual is that I could not find any regulatory rule or regulation which set forth or promulgated specific towing fees. And those, I think what that targets is basically those that charge more than what is set forth in our ordinance, or people are basically taking advantage of people. There is a predatory statute that covers predatory fees, but it did not apply to our storage fees, and they're definitely not in a situation where we can consider them predatory. There is a predatory statute, but it doesn't apply to our fee schedule.
All right, well, I think that the council would, if you could just...
I'll look at the statute again.
If you could give us a memo on the statute,
Yeah.
because you gave us the ordinance, the proposed ordinance, but we're missing your opinion on the predatory towing statute. So we can continue this discussion on August the 6th. Okay. Next we have council liaison reports. Councilwoman Murphy, Shade Tree Commission Library Senior Citizen, co-liaison, technology, July 4th, and New Milford Riverhead Shared Services. Any report?
The Shade Tree is not meeting again until September. The library, the same. They just had a program for children there called Bats, Bats, Bats on Thursday, and it was well attended by over 80 children. The SCORE programs are back in September. Technology, we are having problems with our emails, and Denise is looking into that, and I will assist her if necessary. I emailed Bobby regarding 4th of July. I don't know if Councilman Bartoloni, did you hear anything about 4th of July? As far as how we did
She
that
doesn't
day?
have the numbers yet.
I was contacted by someone in New Milford regarding the development by United Water, and if we'd like to discuss that, we can do so. They believe that there's potential flooding once that project gets underway. And that's it.
Thank you. Councilman Courts, DPW beautification, traffic and safety, shared services with New Milford and/or Oradell. Any report?
Well, DPW obviously heard his report tonight. Nothing on beautification committee, and as far as the shared committees, I know they were going to probably be meeting near the end of August with councilmen from New Milford and Oradell on one of the projects we were dealing with in June. That meeting I had. So we're just waiting for Councilman Oradell to give us some information on some of the stuff, some of the numbers. So there's really not much to really give you.
We never got any information from Oradell on the tub grinding with the leaf pickup, like nothing.
That's what we're waiting for. That's going to be our next meeting, as far as either do something or let's not do something.
Yes.
You know, so it's we're kind of at that point.
All right. Councilman Coppola, Historic Commission.
Pretty short right there. Yes, the Historic Commission, the Mayor and Council are aware of the concrete kiosks at Manning and Voorhees avenues that were knocked down by an unidentified vehicle about approximately 2.5 months ago. At the meeting, we also spoke about the Historic Commission would like the Mayor and Council to designate those structures that were knocked down as historic sites and to assist them in the repair. We also touched base about the local guidelines for possibly being proposed for historic structures and/or historic homes in River Edge that want to do repairs or renovate, that they may seek or should seek approval of the Town Historic Commission. Also, an oral history of River Edge is being uploaded onto YouTube and by Historic Commission members, and that's an ongoing venture that they're doing. And last but not least, New Bridge Landing in River Edge will be hosting the naturalization and swearing-in ceremony on September 19th of brand new U.S. citizens to this country. And that's about it.
Okay, and just to mention that a beloved member of the Historic Commission, Yoshi Ono, passed away on July 5th, I believe. He had a beautiful ceremony at the funeral parlor. He's gotten write-ups in the paper. He was a he was a photographer by trade, by occupation, but he was a railroad aficionado, and he was a member of the Historic Commission for many years, and assisted the commission in restoring the River Edge train station. We're going to, I've drafted a proposed proclamation for Mr. Ono's family. We're going to reach out and see if we can get a family member to come here to accept it. If not, I'll give the proclamation to Phyllis D'Angelo, the chairperson, and then we'll have a vacancy to fill. So, very good lifelong borough resident. Councilman Mignon, Police Department, Environmental Protection, Green Team, and Planning Board.
Okay, nothing new on the police or environmental protection. The Green Team, we met on July 10th. We are still trying to organize ourselves to see what needs to be done to get recertified under the Sustainable Jersey program this year. We're more optimistic than we were in the beginning. There's still a lot more tasks and paperwork that needs to be compiled and reports written, but we're anticipating meeting the January deadline. We're not going to meet the August deadline. It's been very hard to even get people to attend meetings. We've been working with a core of 2 or 3 people, but everybody who's been there has been very enthusiastic, and we want to see this get done, and we're working towards that end, so we're going to continue. We're hoping to meet again probably later this month, and I'll just keep you updated as we progress, but like I said, it's still a daunting task. There's more points required for recertification that was required than the first time. The documentation is a little more comprehensive, and but like I said, there's more optimism that we might be able to do it because there are some actions being taken by the school districts which we think might be able to get credit for. So like I said, I'll keep you up to date as that goes on. Planning board, I was not at the last meeting, but the board did approve a revised monument sign for the proposed 7-Eleven and a complete tear-down rebuild at McDonald's, which I think will be very good for that south end of town. So hopefully, and come fall, we're going to see several construction projects starting on Kinderkamak, which can only be good for the town. So.
Okay, thank you. Do you know, was a member of someone from 7-Eleven at the meeting?
There was a few members from 7-Eleven at the meeting.
From corporate, 7-Eleven
Yes.
corporate? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Who's next? Councilman Bartoloni, Recreation Commission, the River Edge and Riverdale School Districts, 4th of July Committee, Special Events Committee, and SCORE.
Thank you, Mayor. The schools are out till the summer, till September. Same with SCORE. Recreation was scheduled to meet this month. However, they decided to cancel their meeting for this month and will meet again in August. At the last meeting, though, in June, they were gearing up and hoping to head the movement to get the open space referendum passed in November. So they are, very much interested in working towards seeing that gets passed again. And in terms of 4th of July, now I guess it's the Special Events Committee, and I need to talk to Denise in terms of posting dates for that committee when it's going to meet. So, but one of the main things I think we're going to do is have a post-mortem in terms of what worked, what didn't work 4th of July, and so we can iron out that. But I think the parade went very well, and the festivities in the park were well attended, even though it was very hot that day. So,
Thank you. Councilman Papaleo, Fire and Fire Prevention, Construction Code, Property Maintenance, and River Edge Alliance Against Alcohol and Drugs.
Thank you, Mayor. The Building Department Construction Official Liaison. So I spoke with Bob Ernst. He had nothing to report beyond his recent official report that the council received via email. He would like to comment that Nicole Rose's replacement is working out very well, and he wanted us to know that. Fire Department, Assistant Chief Coretti reported to me that in June there were 18 fire calls, 2 drills, one of which featured a Hackensack Fire Department captain who gave us gave the fire department a class on hazardous material and proper identification and handling of them. June 6th and 23rd, some members attended a class given at Bergen County Fire Academy by FEMA on structural collapse awareness. Also, members of the River Edge Fire Department Safety Committee attended a mutual aid safety meeting at the New Milford Fire Department, and rig and apparatus checks were held each Sunday for approximately 3 hours each day. So far in July, there have been 24 fire calls through 3 p.m. today, including a house fire on Lakeview Street on the 10th, 2 drills, one of which was an acquired structure in Lexington Drive. I was out that drill was started at 7, ran to 9:30, then they went back to the fire department. Company 1 charged their air tanks, then they went to they did that Company 2, then they went back to Company 1 and they debriefed. Tremendous amount of commitment in our volunteers. They smoked a house on Lexington, 304 Lexington. I took a lot of pictures, I put them on my Facebook page. Just wonderful the commitment that our volunteers make. They brought me into the building, the structure, after it was half vented, and I couldn't see my hand in front of my face. And they went up on the roof, they opened it up, they drilled on practicing breaking down a wall, finding a body. They had a mannequin, a full weighted mannequin, so they had to then drag it out, full gear, full gas masks. They did 4 drills. Each drill, Company 1, then Company 2 did a drill, and then they did a second drill. So it was really 2 drills, twice done. Just a tremendous amount of River Edge Ambulance Corps was there, also drilling. So it was really a great experience. On July 1st, members attended an annual memorial service in Hackensack. The fire department attended both Oradell and River Edge's parades on the 4th. River Edge Fire Department officers attended a Triborough Mutual Aid officers meeting held in New Milford on the 12th. And again, rig and apparatus checks were held every Sunday for approximately 3 hours each by our volunteers. Fire Prevention Department. So beyond the official report that's already been issued, there was an investigation of a fire on Lakeview Street. The fire was determined by our fire prevention officers to be careless smoking, accidental. There were no injuries. One of our firefighters had an increased blood pressure issue. It was checked out. He's back on duty. All inspections are up to date. The River Edge Alliance Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse. During this month, Marie Papaleo, the Alliance chairperson, was able to create a new program for the library with the help of the CAP program. Dara O'Connor, our River Edge librarian. There will be 2 workshops in the fall for parents of middle school students. These workshops will deal with domestic violence and bullying. River Edge Alliance Against Drug and Alcohol Abuse will fund these programs and provide refreshments. On July 16th, the Alliance chair met with myself and Alan at the administrator's office, and we discussed modifications to the present budget. There has been $1,300 that has not been utilized, and part of the reason is because the program it was designed for no longer exists. $800 of the $1,300 will now be placed in a line item to help schools. $500 of the $1,300 line item will be for pharmacists to speak to our senior population. 2 elementary schools have come forward asking for funding for their fall programs. Both schools will receive $1,200 towards their Positive Power Week. Many hours were spent this month planning new events and working on existing. The Alliance is also hoping to do some fundraising to the River Edge Day to generate more funds for the Alliance. The CVS is providing us with a pharmacist. That came in today just before I came to council, and so we'll have a pharmacist for our SCORE seniors so that they can, have a really good workshop on mixing drugs and looking at their prescriptions and how to manage it and how to reach out when they think that they're having a reaction or they have an overdependence on drug or alcohol.
Thank you, Councilman. I have one report. There is no, as everybody knows, there is no official liaison to the River Edge Volunteer Ambulance Service, but I think I shamed them into sending me a report, so I'll put them in the record. The River Edge Volunteer Ambulance Service has answered, as of the end of June, 335 calls for service. For the month of June, they responded to a total of 50 calls. On one of the calls, they required a second crew. 39 of those calls were strictly basic life support, but 11 were for advanced life support. In total, members of the ambulance service drove 386 miles and spent 135 hours on call. They visited the following hospitals: Hackensack University Medical Center, Holy Name, Valley Hospital, Englewood Hospital, and Bergen Regional. They also assisted in interlocal services with New Milford, assisting in heat-related complaints at their 5K run and at the Riverdale High School graduation. So I thank Captain Zemides for this report, and I noticed that they are still in need of some new members, so if anyone, or if you know of anybody who wishes to get involved in such a great volunteer service, the River Edge Volunteer Ambulance Service is at the beck and call. Thank you. Next, we have unfinished business. Anybody have any unfinished business?
Mayor, I was wondering where we were with the 9/11 memorial. Is there any movement on that?
I haven't heard of anything since their fundraiser.
Okay.
Maybe we can get a report from is it Sergeant Wilhelm?
Yes, Mayor, we'll get a report.
On unfinished business, I did attend 2 days of hearings last Monday and Tuesday for the Oradell River Edge school funding litigation before Administrative Law Judge Leslie Salentano in Newark. Most of the governing body from Oradell were present for 2 days. I testified the second day. Other than telling you that I testified, the transcript will be ordered. Transcript is a public record that anybody can review. I won't say anything else regarding school funding because it seems that every time I say something about school funding, I'm subject to cross-examination at a later place and time on what I've said. So I don't want to what's the word? Incriminate myself. But there were 2 days of hearing, and hopefully, if Judge Salentano follows the law, she will uphold the present school funding formula that is currently in operation, which proportionally allocates the school funding obligations of River Edge and Oradell taxpayers. Anything else under unfinished business? Councilwoman Murphy.
Just going to ask Denise about the sale of the bus. Has that almost concluded?
Today, 6 o'clock, the leaf blower, or leaf vacuum.
Because we didn't get very high bids for that, for either.
2,050, I believe. I don't know what the end result was, because when I went home, I came back, it was after the fact, so I have to go back in and look. I'm looking at my find out. The bus 1,050 is up there right now.
Wow.
And I also had a question about the park on Kinderknecht, when we talked about it last time about the water being turned off. I think it's Jackson Avenue, Paper Street. When I went by there, it's green and lush, and who's watering it, and how's it getting watered?
Alan.
Mayor, I was told that volunteers were doing it with a watering truck.
With a truck? With water?
Yeah, a water canister on a truck, taking it down, hand watering. That's what I was told.
Is that Virginia Corporate?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's taking care of this.
Yeah, but the water was turned off in 2008, apparently.
No, she brings her own. I had a conversation with her a couple weeks ago, and she voluntarily gave me the information. She takes care of the park, she waters it down, she brings her own water service in.
Wow.
Yeah, out of her own money.
No, I know, because we gave her a refund because the water was turned off and she was being charged it. So I was just wondering, how was it getting watered?
Yeah,
And I did not know that they were bringing water there.
Yeah, she has a service that comes and takes care of her, which is amazing.
That is amazing.
Yes.
Anything else under unfinished business?
Yeah, I was just wondering, have we heard anything from the Ancia brothers regarding the Hoffman Coos property and if any construction might occur this summer as promised by...
I haven't heard of anything. Sam mentioned to me that he received a call, and he could discuss it regarding a liquor license.
Yeah, I had gotten a call probably at least a month ago with reference to whether there was a license available within the community. They had a tenant that was interested in operating a restaurant at the location, but they wanted a liquor license. So I'd given them some leads on possible licenses, but that's the last I heard.
Okay. Anything, no more unfinished business, anything under new business?
Mayor?
Yes.
I was, the Manning Avenue kiosk, I was wondering if we should put that repair through our joint insurance. Is that something that we should consider, that repair?
I think we should. I think I may have even emailed Alan about that.
Yes, I forwarded it on to our risk consultant to see whether there'll be any reimbursement. We obtained the police report on it. Right now, John Lynch has a quote close to $800 on it. We don't have money in the budget presently at this time. We would certainly take another look at it in November when we have the ability to transfer funds. So we'll see what the risk consultant says.
It might be below our deductible, right?
Yeah, the deductible is $2,500, so yeah, very likely be below deductible.
All right, anything
Mayor?
else under new business?
We received, I believe, an email about S96A2217 unlawful conduct. It was a request for the council to consider to oppose it. I'd like to make a motion that we should oppose that. S96A2217 unlawful conduct.
Of course, I don't know, it's not ringing a bell.
Can you just give us a brief?
Yeah, what is that? What is...
I'll give you a brief synopsis. There is a bill in the legislature to declare the offense of unlawful conduct, and it would impose a fine of between $50 and $500. Traditionally, disorderly conduct or unlawful conduct is handled under a borough ordinance, and any fine money collected goes to the town where the offense occurs. This is really like a money grab from Trenton, where
Yeah, they want to go to
the state wants to amend their criminal code, add a new crime called unlawful conduct, which basically means anything you do wrong that we think is a crime is returnable in the town's municipal court, and the town has to pay their prosecutor, and the town has to pay their judge, and all the money goes to the general treasury in Trenton. So North Arlington, it's in our correspondence, North Arlington adopted a resolution opposing what is it?
S96A2217.
S96, and we should follow that and adopt a resolution of our own, because it really is a money grab from Trenton. For us to subsidize the prosecution of a new offense and then not receive the benefit of, even though the unlawful conduct occurs here, the fine money would go into the state treasury. So, could we put that on the agenda for...
Motion, we have a second.
You have a motion?
Second. Who's got the motion?
I made the motion.
Second.
Kathleen second.
All right. Any further discussion on that? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Thank you. Anything else on the new business?
One last thing, Alan, will the modification to the budget items, is that something we have to make a motion to do, or can you just, because I couldn't remember?
No, I just have to finish the forms.
Okay, great. This is, by the way, guys, this is for the River Edge Alliance, so we can move that money that I mentioned. Great, thanks.
Okay. Councilwoman Murphy.
I just had two questions. Someone approached me about perhaps crosswalk markers, that they're all over in Oradell and we have none here, perhaps by Continental, that there's any grants available for those?
Our police chief, I think, has strong opinions regarding crosswalk markers. He should address it personally, because he has an opinion that it causes a false sense of security for pedestrians that are crossing in the crosswalk marker, and then they can get run over. But I'm not taking any words out of the chief's mouth. I just know that some towns
Speed up when they see it.
Some towns use crosswalk markers as a traffic calming device, but other towns see them as a liability. Once you put the marker out and a pedestrian gets hit, you're probably going to get sued. You're probably going to get brought into the lawsuit. Because
You get sued either way.
What?
You get sued either way. It's 100% true.
But if somebody's just jaywalking, what's the likelihood of the borough getting sued?
And also...
If we put something out to tell pedestrians to cross here, and then they cross, and they, God forbid, get killed, and we haven't undertaken due diligence and a traffic study and determined by a traffic engineer that it's a safe place for people to cross, then we could be in big trouble.
But now the law is on the pedestrian side. As soon as they step into the crosswalk, the traffic has to stop.
Yeah, but you just can't put a crosswalk wherever you want.
No, but people go from the post office to the parking lot. You see it all the time. You see people go from the cultural center across to the park. I mean, those are our biggest, what I see, two areas where people cross. And also, I was reading something about Sustainable New Jersey. We're giving grants for recycling bins for public areas. I don't know if anyone has seen that. After Jeannie Mary played, there was a lot of bottles, and it would have been a good idea to recycle everything. So I don't know if you can inquire about that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
Team?
Yeah.
It's a Green Team project. When is the Green Team meeting next?
We didn't schedule yet. We're typically meeting the last Wednesday of the month.
In August?
No, we're planning on meeting in July.
July?
We can recoup some money from those recyclables.
Has the Green Team ever considered the idea of a farmer's market here in town?
That has been looked at.
Okay. Anything else, Councilwoman?
No.
Any other new business? Okay. Do we have to do a resolution on payment of the bills?
Yes.
I guess we do. Can I have a motion?
Second.
Anybody gonna read it? Do we need to read it?
Usually we have done that.
All right.
I don't have a
Finance
copy of
Committee
it.
Chair read it.
Whereas vouchers for the payment of goods and services rendered to the Borough River Edge have been received, and whereas each bill has been checked by the receiving department, approved by the Chief Financial Officer and Borough Clerk, and reviewed by the 3 members of the Finance Committee. Now therefore be it resolved that bills as listed now be confirmed for payment from the appropriate funds as follows. Current account, $378,983.98. Animal welfare account, $6.60. Trust other account, $16,664.68. Self-insurance account, $1,280.22. Recreation account, $5,409.66. Open space account, $304.86. Trust other developers account, $3,897. So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Okay. For opening the hearing to the public, I see that we have no closed session agenda tonight, right? Well, we have the ability to go into closed session. There we go. Perfect. All right, I'd like to have a motion to open the meeting to the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, would anybody like to address the mayor and council with a question or a comment? If you do, please stand, give us your name and address, and if you want to be seen, you can come up to the chair. I mean, if you want to be seen on the camera. All right.
Elizabeth Valea, 453 Elm Avenue. In May, I personally hand-delivered a letter with 20 pages of supporting documents to the mayor and each of you council members. In June, I followed up that letter with an email, and again in July. Is it reasonable to expect a response from someone, or should I seek a resolution elsewhere? This is regarding the fire siren.
Go ahead,
There's a
Paul.
committee on that.
Yeah. Former Councilman John Porco was working on the fire siren. And we all know the conversation. I talked to, Tom and I had a conversation a couple weeks back, and it's kind of become a tug of war right now with the fire department, to be honest.
So where are we? Because this is going on all the time.
Well,
I just need to know if I should seek alternative?
Absolutely. I would seek everything you can do, because, you know, they've adjusted the siren itself to get it shut down. The conversations kind of, the last meeting we had was, I think was, I don't have my notes on me right here, but I know it was back in,
April.
it's April, yeah.
Fire.
Yeah, we had it, and it kind of, the final on that meeting was kind of, let's, you know, see if we can get Academy Electrical over there to, again, lower the decibels on it, and...
Anything happened? And none of you would have the courtesy to reply to my letter?
Well, I did.
I didn't get a reply.
I didn't talk to you personally, I talked to Tom.
Okay.
Because Tom was I relayed my messages to Tom, so I'm sorry I didn't call you back on that.
No, that's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I sent this document and nobody has replied. I mean, so when did you reply to Tom? Like, where are we with this?
It's a
Were
great...
you leaving it as is?
No, we're not. Until we can have another meeting on it, and we left it basically in the, which I call the Kensington Group's hands, as far as where do you guys want to go with this? Because as far as what the council has done to get that the siren shut down, there's a stalemate between the council and the fire department on getting that shut.
Doesn't the fire department work for the town?
Yeah, that's true.
But
They
that's
do.
I'm confused.
Yeah, but there's also laws out there that the fire department has over the town that if it deems unsafe to not have a siren at that point, they have every right to keep that siren on, and they can hold up a judge. The judge can hold up against the town and say you can't shut that siren down because the chief says you can't.
But you and I were at that meeting with the chief, and they agreed to shut it down. They promised to shut it down and activate the one at the south end of town. Because remember, all those firemen, all 5 of them that live on Valley Road, don't ever hear a siren.
Yeah.
So why do we have a siren?
Well, the fact...
Obviously, we don't need it. I mean, they basically admitted that because they don't hear it, and...
Yeah, but what happened was when they activated Main Street, there was still a test going on to see if Main Street was going to be loud enough for them to hear it. When I talked to Tom Lawler about that, again, the conversation he kind of just said, let's wait for a little bit, let's see what the Kensington Group has to say, and then go from there. We can pick this conversation up again.
I think we need to pick it up again because, you know, there's a lot of problems right there.
All right. We didn't forget about it. My
It's
conversation...
not even on your agenda as unfinished business, though. I mean, wasn't that what Porco said?
Yes, it was.
You'll bring it up every meeting, and it'll be unfinished until it's resolved.
And it's still in the process of being resolved. Tom and I have been talking about it. I literally talked to Tom 3 weeks ago on this.
Okay.
So, and have you talked to Tom?
I talk to Tom all the time.
And what was his reaction?
He suggested that I come to the council.
All right. I mean, I suggested it too. I said, send somebody up. And until we can get another meeting again, which would be, probably it's not going to happen until September.
Well, let's make the meeting then.
Yeah, and we can meet with the chiefs, and we can meet with the council representatives. I mean, I'm there, and we can meet with Tom and yourself, and go up and see where we're going to hash it out again. And I just, from when we left last time, the last meeting, it was basically, everyone kind of not shrugged their shoulders, well, yeah, there was no answers. So, Tom and I know how to leave early because he had lacrosse going on. So, when John Pork and I were the last 2 people there, again, John Pork was not here to follow up the rest of the conversation, but it's not something we forgot about, and it's something that is still being worked on. But the last portion of that meeting was Tom was going to go back to you guys in the group and say, what do you want to do now? Because the fire department has completed all the adjustments on the siren they feel they're going to do, and that's basically it. So
can you set up the meeting with them?
Sure, absolutely. I'll call Tom tomorrow.
Well, I believe Tom will be happy to attend the meeting with the fire chief.
What was that?
It's the fire chief that we need to get.
Oh, I know that, but I need to sit down with Tom. I represent the people. I don't represent the fire department. I represent the people. So I have to actually talk to Tom, see when he wants to get together, meet, and then we'll go ahead and talk to the chief about that.
Okay.
So again, it's nothing where we put in the back burner. It's just something that, everything up on this council evolves, basically. I mean, to have something done here, and here, it just doesn't get done.
Oh, I know, but this has been going on 13 years. This isn't like from April. You know this has been going on for 13
I know that.
years
I understand.
that I know of.
Yeah.
This has been going on. If you go to the second floor of Company 1, there's a newspaper article on the wall that's from 50s about the fire siren. It's been going on a lot longer than 13 years. But right now, there's an impasse between the fire department and the residents at that location. The impasse involves keeping a portion of the town unprotected or to keep the sirens on. All is right. The fire department tried tweaking the decibel level and the cycles, and we thought that things had calmed down and the decibel levels were lower, the cycles were shortened, things were kind of at a status quo, or I don't know what other word can describe it. It was good for a little while, and then the fire department indicated that there were some blind spots. They needed to make another adjustment. They made an adjustment, and then the residents began complaining again.
Well, because it's now louder than it ever was, and now it rings 6 times or 7 times instead of 4. I'm very concerned for the people because we have a very high incidence of childhood disorders within a 3-block radius. It's very unusually high, and I'm doing a study on it right now.
Going forward I know even our last conversation with Tom and I had, we even discussed, okay, if Kensington's going to be on, then we turn them all back on. And, this is only, our private conversation with each other. And we felt, well, that's not the point. The point is you guys came in for that one siren, and that's the one we're going to concentrate on. Now, again, summer came around. People end up doing their things. I know that when September starts, the council gets back together and starts really, focusing on stuff. But even my last conversation with Tom, I promise you I'll call him tomorrow, and we can move forward with, setting up another meeting and going from there.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I would not, again, I told Tom, don't stop, because things just don't, it's, every little move you make, the opposite side will try something else to do what they want. So
Yeah, I know they have, because now they ring it at night, in the middle of the night, when there's no fires going on. We know that.
Well, no, there's no ring in the fire alarm in that unless it's an actual working fire.
That's what we thought, but 2 weeks, within the past 2 weeks, it's gone 3 times, 1:30 in the morning, 2 in the morning, and 2:30. And apparently there are no records of any calls being going on.
Actually, there are records. I'm in the fire liaison, so I get a text message every time the fire department gets a call. If the police department or the fire department dispatcher, which is not our dispatcher, deems that this is that there is a possibility of life in jeopardy,
Right.
then the siren rings.
That would be the only reason, though, right?
That would be the only reason. It has to be either an active fire, life in jeopardy. I think there's a third category. So I know that it's an odious sound for you, but I get every single text, and there are so many that they're getting all the time. One of the evenings was the Lakeview fire, the house that that I mentioned in my report. Smoking in bed, and the bedroom was completely destroyed, and the house is not occupiable at this point. So one of those early morning calls was just that. The decibel level is actually lower. How do I know this? I was there when they adjusted it. They told me they were going to adjust it. I said, okay, I'm going to come and, watch what you're going to do. The way the siren works is it doesn't have, you don't set a decimal level. You set how long it cycles up. It only has an on-off switch, okay? So what they thought would be a good compromise is they said instead of 4 going to full power plus a few seconds, they would go to 80% power. Don't hold me on the 80%.
Well, because I have all the numbers of the decibel reading, so I know what it went from 120 to 113.
Actually, it was lower than that, because I was there, and they actually showed me the decibel reader. I stood right next to them when they did it. They showed me before they adjusted. They showed me after. It was It peaked, I think, at 96, but it was only at 96 for not even a second. It was really running in the low 90s, high 80 rate.
6 times,
That's why.
not one.
Well, that's the compromise that they thought would still allow the firemen, because they're all volunteers, they're not obligated to hold their pagers, and certainly when they're on a barbecue or, you know.
We know they're all, yeah, we do know that. We appreciate.
So the idea is that if you make it longer, the decibel rating levels don't need to be as high, but it repeats more. So what it is going 6 times, but it's not going to full power. So the decibel level is lower, but it's a longer siren, so that because the decibel level is lower, hopefully their feeling was that this would alert firemen throughout the town. That's what I'm just explaining to you the thinking behind it.
But now, have you been there lately? Because it is not lower than it ever was. It is louder. I mean, you need to just come by and hear it. Like Saturday night, it goes off once at 6 o'clock as a test. Please, you just need to go by and hear it for yourself.
All right.
It's definitely not lower.
Maybe what I can do is borrow the decibel monitor.
Yeah, we have one, but they won't let you use ours. But yeah, they're out there, decibel meters.
And you have to be, there is a distance.
I'm 50 feet from the siren.
Yeah, because we did pace it out, and I double-checked to make sure it was.
Tom, there's also you can...
So what's your reading? What reading do you get?
113 at my front door.
Okay.
Okay.
Also, I would recommend liaison to the fire department. Check with Academy Electric, who does the adjustments for him, and see his reports. I mean, I don't think he'd be happy to show you. I mean, it's just.
I'd like to be. I think disclosure is important, and I like being upfront, and I like people being upfront with me. This is probably not politically wise, but I'm going to say this: I am not in support of turning off the siren. I believe that there's a public safety risk. I've listened to arguments on both sides. I believe that the siren should stay on. I believe there should be some sort of compromise that makes it less odious. But I think the welfare, the public safety welfare of the town is our primary concern as council men and women. And but that doesn't mean that I don't serve you. So I will ask to borrow the decimal, and I will go and listen to it again. Certainly, if it's at that level, if their decimal reader is reading the same thing, then we need to rethink it, because you do live there, and that's a tough burden to live with. But I do want to be upfront and honest that I would not support turning off that siren, and I did not when it came up from the council.
I appreciate that, but I also feel like you should come to the meeting with the fire chief.
I would actually haven't been invited, but I think that's partly my fault too. I should have, said, listen, I should be there. I was going to simply mention to Paul afterwards, I want to be at that meeting. I want to be at that next meeting, and yeah, I agree with you. I should be there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to have a question or make a comment? Mr. Carroll.
Neil Carroll, 321 Wales Avenue. My favorite subject might be coming to a close. Do I get that it's going to handle both buildings?
Correct.
Okay. So the consultant sat there and said 2 major problems. He felt it was major that we were going to shut the police department down for 4 hours in order to do the cutover. Personally, I don't think that's a major problem. We've been 2 days in the library, okay? But we have to know ahead of time when it's going to happen so that we can get, I can get all the phones going.
That's one of the major logistical issues that has to be addressed with the pre-construction
But
meeting.
the other major item that he brought up that night that nobody could decide is where he wanted to place it, you didn't want to place it. Have we resolved that?
No, it was placed in one of the parking spaces. That was the original proposal. There was no change from that.
But then it came up about shrubbery and everything else.
It was the exact same location as the original plan.
Okay.
So.
And we know the major gas line is on Kinnickmack Road, because even though we had gas service on Tenny to put the generator in, we had to bring the gas service
Yes,
in
the design.
Road.
That's where the plan showed it coming in, yes.
That means the police will be out of business
yes.
more than...
Well, it depends on public service and when they do it and how long it's going to take. That
And we have a major drain there. All of these drain pipes go down the driveway and out and hook in to the sewer system, so...
I wouldn't foresee that being an issue, yeah.
Lincoln
They
and
put gas mains all the
Kennedy, I
time in
understand,
roads.
is on the agenda, Alan?
Lincoln and Kinderkamak, the decorative paving?
Yes? The crosswalk?
Yeah, the crosswalk. It's gonna get fixed.
When?
I don't know.
I heard a rumor tomorrow. That's why I wanted to confirm it.
Tomorrow.
That's what I heard.
I don't have a specific date, Mayor. The borough engineer is reaching out to the police chief. They have to arrange police protection on Kinderkamak Road for when that's done. So we did have a conversation with him last week, and he indicated it was, on the radar to be accomplished. But I know he had to reach out to Chief Coretti.
And one last touchy subject. I understand the rumor is, I was away for a week, but I heard a rumor that the two young ladies that were up that brought up about some animals at Madison and Bogart, I understand 705 Kinderkamak has come into the picture as well as the church next door. So I was just curious what progress, if any, was made.
In our correspondence is a pretty long, detailed report from our health officer that indicates all of the locations that she inspected, all of the residents and the addresses that she spoke, where she spoke to the homeowners, and where people declined her assistance, and where baiting was placed. So it's a pretty detailed report that it's available if you want to look at it. Yeah. Seems like the health department is at Midburg, is on top of that.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, can I have a motion to close the hearing to the public?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I don't have any comments. Does anybody have any comments? Councilwoman Murphy.
I just have a few. I'm glad to see a reduction in the cost from Reggio Construction in the amount of $6,144.13 for the Howland Avenue project. It's nice to see a refund instead of an increase. And I would also like at the next meeting to somehow make an award for heroism for River Edge resident Jay Orsatino of Clarendon Court. The other day, he assisted in the rescue of a woman who drove into the Hackensack River.
Oh, I saw that video.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a video on the patch.
Wow.
He actually had to jump in and pull her out through the window. So I spoke to him today.
You did speak to him?
Yes, I did. He works for a waterproofing, basement waterproofing company in Ordell.
Orsino.
Yes.
He actually jumped into the
Yes,
Hackensack River?
yes, he did.
That was the car that drove in.
Yeah, this woman from, a River Edge woman that lives on Windsor Court, whose name has not been identified. She's not been identified. After she got her car washed in Hackensack, she mistook the brake, the gas for the brake, and drove into the river, and had to be, this man rescued her. So I would like to make some commendation for him, for an award for heroism. He said he would be happy to come in and accept that.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, there was quite dramatic video on
Yeah.
Channel 4 tonight.
Yeah.
It was a lengthy piece for them,
Yeah.
for the evening news.
I mean, the car actually went off like a little cliff. It wasn't just that it strolled into the water.
there's
It just like
There's a
disappeared.
security cam, it's going down, and then, of course, there's this big drop,
Yeah.
it goes right into the
Yeah.
water, and in less than a minute,
Yeah, he
completely sinks.
Yeah, he earned that award, this guy. That's for sure.
I take my car to that same car
I
wash
do too.
because they have this great special,
$19.99.
$19.99 for a month. You can bring your car twice a day to get washed.
That and
Yeah, it's
Rick's.
great.
But whenever you're coming out of the car wash, you have to make a hard left,
She went straight.
and she went straight. And I was always you know, in my mind, I'm always
There's
saying,
no fence?
how come there's no, like, guardrail there or anything? You go right into the river.
Well,
And she did.
tomorrow there might be a guardrail.
Yeah.
I had a couple other things.
So maybe we could put on a proclamation or something.
No problem.
Do we have a form for that? Good.
No. I'll find something.
I'd also like to remind the residents that if you visit NewJerseyCleanEnergy.com, you can get $50 back for your old refrigerator. And residents can report online road hazards online. And if you go to NorthJersey.com, there's an interactive online feature that provides residents with the opportunity to make a positive impact in their community called See It, Fix It. And it's designed to help resolve local road hazards. That's it.
I had a question for either Ed or Alan. What's going on with our energy audit?
They were scheduled to come in, Mayor. I have to follow up on that and see whether they actually did come in on the day that was specified. We'll have an answer out to the council tomorrow on that.
Okay. All right,
Oh,
thank you.
Yeah.
Are we going to get new email addresses?
I'm trying.
Okay.
I thought I had them all set, ready to go last Friday. I went to Johnny Corco, walked me through it, put my emails in, but apparently nobody got my stuff, including myself. I was on vacation last week, actually.
Also, one other thing, the website still has, I think, the fire department, room officers.
I'll check this.
Okay, very good. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.